Auspicious greetings, everyone. Welcome back to our History of India Buddhism class. We have 4 classes, and today we have the 5th class. So for the past few classes, we discussed a lot. And the last class, we talked about the splitting of the Sangha order during the Buddha's lifetime and after the Buddha's passed away, the splitting from hidden Sikhism to a more obvious type of crack in the Sangha order between Mahakashyapa and Purana. And in this class, we are going to continue to discuss about the splitting of the Sangha order, where we call it as the sectarianism of the early Indian Buddhism. So, last class, we discussed about this. During the Shakyamuni Buddha, when he was still alive, there was this open Sikhism, Devadatta, and also the hidden Sikhism, disorder monks. We talked about this already. After the Buddha's death, due to the disorder monks, so Mahakashyapa realized that they need to have a counselor in order to compile the teachings from the Buddha and also the Vinaya, the precepts of the Sangha order. So he initiated the 500 Arahats getting together for 7 months to compile the Sutra and Vinaya. So the Sutra was recite from Ananda, and the Vinaya recite by the Upadi. However, not all the monks agree with this compilation, such as Purana. He couldn't manage to arrive earlier to join in the council. So when he arrived, the council already finished. So when the council already finished, the elderly monastic, the Arahats, told him that this Sutra and Vinaya are the final compilation. So please follow as what they compiled. For the Sutra, Purana did not have any comments about it. But for the Vinaya, for monastic, he has his comment. The reason is because he traveled far away to introduce Buddhism to those places not that developed yet. So they have to adjust themselves in order to adapt to the culture, to the mindset and tradition of that place. So when the Buddha was still alive, Purana able to report back to the Buddha and ask the Buddha, what should I do? Can I adjust this? And the Buddha will give him instruction. So Purana says that, nope, I'm not going to follow the precepts that you compile. Some of the precepts I'm not going to follow. The reason is because the Buddha actually did adjust the precept as according to the needs of that place. So in the Mahayana tradition, it did mention that Purana initiate another council, another meeting outside the cave. In Mandarin, we call it 户外结集. So in here, it starts to be more obvious about the Sangha, that they start to have this split out, more obvious. In here, it's between Mahakashyapa and Purana. So this is something that we discussed last class. And in here again, we look into this map. In the central, the Buddha was active in the central. And Purana, he traveled around outside the central. So this was the map. And in Buddha's time, the monk has already traveled around to introduce the Dharma. Most of the monastic stay around the center. But some of the monastic start to go around. And at that time, still not widely spread out yet. But after the Buddha passed away, Sangha started to spread around India to preach the Dharma. However, due to the difference in culture and environment, Sangha life started to change. So we did not really have very specific record how where those monks traveled to. There's no specific record. What we can say is that they travel around or away from the center. So that's the travel. So maybe at that time it's even to this direction. And when they start to spread out to different places, in the center of India, it's still maintained more or less during the Buddha's time. The elderly monastic were still the main leading monastic in the center. But the other monks that traveled far away, things started to change. So in here I did mention is that due to the difference in culture and environment, Sangha life started to change. So because of the changes, the different opinion and point of view start to have a conflicts. And this leads to the Second Council. So in here, what caused to the organizing of the Second Buddhist Council? It starts with this monk, the elderly monk called Yasha. Yasha traveled to the place called Vaji, quite further away from the center. And when he traveled to there, he discovered that these Vajan monks collection of money from lay disciple against the monastic precepts. During the Buddha's time, the Buddha sets the rule is that monastics are not allowed to touch money. Gold, diamond are not allowed to touch. And when Yasha realized about this, he objected strongly to this practice. So he started to what? Criticize the monks over there. He started to educate the Vajan monk over there. Because he was considered an elderly monk from the center, so he has the position to voice out what is right. Unfortunately, those Vajan monks not happy with him. So they imposed acts of reconciliation and acts of suspension on Yasha. So they are not happy with this old monk. Keep grumbling and try to educate them. They are not happy with him. So they decided to suspend Yasha, chase Yasha away. And Yasha get very unhappy because Yasha think that you folks are already against the teachings from the Buddha. You are not practicing as according to the rules and regulation of a bhikkhu. So how can you say that you are a Buddhist monk, a Buddhist bhikkhu? So when Yasha get kicked out by the Vajjan monk, he went back to the center and start to gather the elderly monk over there and say that they need to organize another Buddhist council to discuss about the monastic daily life rules and regulation. And these elderly monks from the east or the center, they start to list out the monks from Vajjan, what are those things that are not permitted. So the liberal nature of the Vajjan monks, lack of central control. They did not follow the rules and regulations from the central Sangha order. They do not want to be controlled by the central Sangha order. So in this second Buddhist council, they list out 10 other non-permissible acts. And here, we will look into it. But before we look into it, look into here. So this is Vaiji. This was the place that Yasha went to and realized that these people, these monastic, are not following the precepts of the monastic. And the Yasha basically were from here. So he visited this place and realized he discovered that the monks there are not following the rules. So he tried to educate them and then get kicked out by the Vajjan monk. He went back here, gathered the elderly monk, and initiate the second council. Initiate the second council. So in here, what are the 10 non-permissible acts? Let us go through it one by one. It's very interesting. It is permissible to carry. It is non-permissible to carry sword and horn. To eat after midday. To eat from village to village. To assembly in different residents belonging to the same boundaries to carry out various observances. To vote in absence of proxy. In complete order to carry out a formal act. It is to follow what is customary as habitually done by preceptors or teacher. To take buttermilk. To drink dhoti. To use rag without a border. To accept silver, gold, and other valuable things. So the Vajjan monk say that this, they basically practice or they use this thing in their daily life. They think that this is okay. But the elderly man says that no, this is not okay. You cannot keep salt. You keep salt means that when you eat things, you're not happy with the taste, you put salt in. This is a way of desire of food. Desire of food. The Buddha already said that we cannot take food after the midday. How can you take food after the midday? And according to precepts, when you stay in that place, you can only beg food from that place. You cannot eat from village to village. And you cannot assemble in different residents belongs to the same boundaries to carry out various observance. You stay in this place. You assembly in this place. And vote in absence of proxy. Incomplete order to carry out a formal act. Means that what? For monastic, every month we have 2 days to meet together, recite the precepts, and also do repentance. We cannot just say, okay, I'm going to do a proxy and then I don't come for the gathering, the assembly. This is not right. As a monastic, you have to come. Follow what is customary, as habitually done by preceptor or teacher. Adjust as the needs by the preceptors or teacher. This is no. And to take buttermilk. Buttermilk means that they have the milk and then they create the butter and keep it for future use, future to eat. This is not allowed. Monastics are supposed to beg food every day and not supposed to produce food and keep the food. Drink toddy. Toddy means use the hot water together with some sugar or fruits, and then they produce the alcoholic type of drinks. So this is definitely not allowed. And also for monastic, we have this rack that we sit on it for meditation and prostration. We call it as the Nisidana. The Nisidana is supposed to have a specific size. You can't have a very big rack. Why do you need a very big rack without a border? If you need a very big rack, means that what? You sleep all the time. You sleep all the time. So it's a symbol of laziness. And accept donation of silver, gold, and other valuables, such as money. So in this, the elderly group from the east or center, they list out these 10 points and penalize those vigilant monk and say that these are the unwholesome action. Monastics are not supposed to do all this. However, look into all this. If the monks, the monastic, are staying in the village, they beg every day, they go begging for every day, due to the respect by the people, they will get the food. But for those monastic that keep on travel around, during that time in India, a lot of places are still empty. Nobody's staying there. So they can't find anybody to beg for food. They can't find anybody to beg for food. And that's the reason why they will bring salt with them. When they beg the food, they use salt to preserve the food. The same thing is that because they travel, when they reach the village, it's already past the midday. if they don't beg for food, which means that the whole day they cannot eat, they cannot eat food. Even they are able to beg, get the food, they cannot eat it. And also the same thing is that village to village. They travel to this village, they beg for food, and another village is so close, they beg for food. This might be the other day already. So how can you say that I can only beg for food in this village? So when I travel to another village, I can't beg for food. And also for the assembly or the reciting of the monastic precepts, when its times come for assembly, 1 month twice, during the full moon time, they are still in the desert. They are not in the village yet. They cannot rush back to the order to participate in the assembly. And also customary. Different places have different culture. If that place, the people there wear shoe, and if you go there not wearing shoe, then how can you able to communicate with the people over there? And if you are wearing shoe, the people over there are not wearing shoe, and you insist on wearing shoe, will you be accepted by the people over there? For the buttermilk, the same thing is that travel. They might travel for days without seeing any village. So that's why they start to create something as a food for them to carry with them during their travel. As for the drinks, the same thing is that they have the drink, but when they start to travel, start to change. So again, the same thing for others. Accepting silver, gold, other, or money is because of the culture over there. But for myself, this is something I would like to emphasize here. Of course, for the elderly monastic, the Buddha set the rules, and it's more suitable for those monastic that in a big city or in the village. So they do not need to keep food. They do not need to think about eating after the midday. They can arrange their time in the morning to go out and beg for food. But for those monastic that were far away, they need to travel to different places, they have difficulties to follow these rules. However, this shouldn't be the reason for those unwholesome monastic. It shouldn't be the excuse. What I'm saying is that the monastic, if they have the reason due to the cause and condition of propagating the Dharma, that's fine. But some monastic are due to their self-greediness, self-desire. And they start to do all these things. And that's why later on, some monastic get very rich. Monastics are not supposed to be rich. Monastics are supposed to lead a simple life, simple clothing, simple life. If they need money to build the vihara, then that money is for building the vihara. It's not for them to keep the money. And monastics are not supposed to eat whatever they want. They eat as according to their needs, the body needs. So somebody did question us, Chinese monastic, that why in the Chinese temple, Chinese monastic, we have dinner. We eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they asked us, why don't we practice as according to the Buddha, that no eating after midday? And my answer to them are very simple. In our congregation, we start to wake up very early. And then after we wake up, we need to do chanting. We need to organize event. We need to take care of the temple. We need to do counseling. We need to prepare for Dharma service. We need to teach the Dharma. We need to interact with the community. So for the whole day, besides our monastic, our own cultivation, the morning and night chanting, we have the chanting service, and also we need to take care of the temple. We need to take care of the temple. We need to do the maintenance. We need to do the cleaning. We need to talk to different people. We need to file tax. We need to do car maintenance. We need to file the reports to the government. We have a lot of administration work to do. The temple have a lot of inspection, a lot of things to maintain and repair. And also, we need to travel out to do funeral service. So based on all this work, physically, we need food in order to maintain the energy. We don't just sit in the temple doing nothing, just meditation. As according to the Bhikkhuni precepts, Bhikkhuni are not allowed to be outside of the vihara after the sunset. But we, Chinese Bhikkhuni, some funeral service are in the nighttime. We need to go for the funeral service to serve the people. So again, this is because of the local culture, local needs, local situation for us to adjust our daily activities. In our temple on Sunday, the Dharma service, most of the Dharma service are past 12 p.m. Sometimes it ends at 12:30 p.m. or even 1 p.m. If we uphold the no eating after midday, which means that that day we unable to eat lunch because of the service, and in the nighttime we cannot eat, means that we only eat breakfast. And we have to talk to a lot of people after the Dharma service. So this related to the localization. Localization of Buddhism in different places. And what are the things or the precepts that we need to uphold? And what are the precepts, the minor or lesser rules that we can adjust? So this Second Buddhist Council organized time around 100 years after Buddha's passed away, Mahaparinibbana, lasts for 8 months. The first lasts for 7 months, and this one lasts for 8 months. The initiator from the elderly monk, Venerable Rivata, and sponsored by the King Kalasoka, the font of Vajrayana monks. This means that these 7 arahats from the East and East Center, and the West, they get together in Baji, and then they initiate the Second Buddhist Council, and the place in Vaisali. So again, I mentioned earlier is that this also according to the teachings from the Buddha is that everything needs cause and condition. The Second Buddhist Council caused by the Yasha and also the Vajjan monk. The condition is to the supporter of the king. Yasha discussed with the elderly monk, and the most respect elderly monk, Revata, initiate this council in the place of Vaisali, with 700 arahats participated in the council. So in this point of time, 100 years after the Buddha parinirvana, arahat, there was still a lot of arahats over there, 700 arahats, maybe even more. And the results, the Western parties was able to convince by reference to the Vinaya rules in the Sutta Vibhanga, that the 10 points maintained by the Vajjan bhikkhus were conflicting to the discipline, to the Vinaya. So the Western Sangha order was convinced that the Vajja monk, monastic, they have this 10 point that they were doing at that time, were actually conflicting to the Vinaya. So at the conclusion, the monks then recited the Vinaya rules, and they were considered orthodox. So at that point of time, a term started to arise, Sthavirivada. The Sthavirivada represent the elderly monk that uphold the precepts very strictly. So they were being considered as the orthodox. The precepts cannot change. And in Mandarin, it's called Sangzuobu, the elderly monastic group called Sthavirivada. However, even though in the second council, they already agree that they will follow the strict Vinaya, the Vajja monk initially appeared to be accept the Second Buddhist Council, but they were not satisfied. Actually, they said, oh, okay, I accept. But you folks said, but we are not satisfied. So they call upon another group called Mahasanghika, and they held their own Buddhist council. They were able to invite 10,000 monks and gather at Pataliputra. There became a great schism of the Buddhist Sangha 100 years after the Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha. So look at here, 10,000 monks from the Sthavirivada, 700 arahats. And this Mahasanghika, this group, basically they are considered liberal, more flexible in the daily life activities of a monastic and how they propagate the Dharma. But Mahasanghika will consider the minority at that time, the minority group. Sthavirivada was still the major Sangha order during that time. But actually, we can't just split that. This person is Mahasanghika. This person belongs to Sthavirivada. Actually, it's not in that situation. Some of the monks in the Sthavirivada order, they agree, they uphold the precepts, but in their mind, they are more flexible. And some of the monastic in the Mahasanghika, they were in that environment. They need to adjust as according to the culture at that place. However, inside them, they treat the precepts very seriously. So it's more or less the mixed type of the Sangha order during the time. So these two terms are very important. The reason is because this Sthavirivada actually is the beginning stage of the Theravada. This Mahasanghika actually was the beginning stage of the Mahayana. So in this second Buddhist council, it's not just two persons, Mahakashyapa or Purana. It was two groups of monastic that have this agreement with the minor or lesser rules of monastic, the precepts. They were not arguing about the teachings. They were arguing about their daily needs. Their daily needs. Don't you realize that? There's no argument. There's no argument about the teachings, the Dharma. Their argument is about food, drinks, the assembly, and also what to use. What to use. So this second council is actually is a debate about localization. What needs to be remained and what can be adjusted. It's about localization. However, it's also about the nature of a monastic. Why I say that the nature of the monastic? Monastic devote their entire life to practice the Dharma for their own cultivation, at the same time to propagate the Dharma. And their own cultivation is to hope to end the circle of birth and death, to liberate out from suffering, to liberate out from rebirth. And that's why monastics are supposed to lead a simple life. They can't have a lot of property. So I always say that if you see a monastic have the gold chain, using very good things, driving a BMW with a gold ring, these are not supposed to be monks that's supposed to have. We can drive a car because we need to travel in order to propagate the Dharma. But we can't have a very expensive type of car. We don't need a gold chain. We don't need it. We don't need a gold ring. Why do we need a gold ring? We need a cell phone because we need to communicate with the devotees and to work. We need a laptop in order to work. We need to take the plane in order to travel to another country. But all these are tools for us to propagate the Dharma, to serve our devotees. But if we start to very concerned about food, we start to keep a lot of things, then something is wrong. We monastics do not need to go shopping without a reason. When I say without a reason, means that we only go shopping because of the needs for the temple. We don't go shopping for nothing. So that's why you will see monastic going to the supermarket to buy food. If we don't go to buy food and we don't have devotees help us to buy food, then we will starve to death. We need to go to the DMV to register for our car license. We need to go to the city hall to do filing. We need to go to the hospital to visit the sick member. We need to go to the funeral home to do funeral service. So what are the things that we can do? What are the things that we can't do? I cannot, as a monastic, we can't say that the weather is so hot, so I decided to just wear a t-shirt. We can't. We can't. But if we take a plane and there's no vegetarian meal on the plane, we can bring a lunch box with us. Right? We bring a lunch box with us and we can eat in any time on the plane. So that's why when the lay members or the people look at monastic, sometimes they get confused is that how come some of the monastic, they practice the no eating after midday, but some monastic, they eat 3 meals and they did not. They eat as according to the situation. So for my case, is every Sunday after the service, I need to talk to a lot of people. So I did not take my lunch after the service. I communicate with different people. And when people say goodbye to me, then I start to take my lunch, which is already 3 p.m., around 3 p.m. I can't tell my devotee says that, wait, let me eat my lunch first. If not, they will be against my precepts. So in Mahayana, we concern more about the needs of the members or the human being or beings. We have our precepts too. As I mentioned earlier, is that I can't wear a t-shirt. I have my monastic robe. I can't grow my hair. And say that, okay, I want to have a long hair. I can't. A monastic is a monastic. A bhikkhu, bhikkhuni is a bhikkhu, bhikkhuni. So this is something that when we look at the Buddhist monastic, you'll understand later on, we get more example about the difference between the Sthavarivada and Mahasanghika, or the Theravada and Mahayana. But in here, in the second council, it talks more about what the monastic in their daily life, what they can do or they can't do. So in the modern world now. Monastic, they receive donation. Some people will donate food, we accept. Some people donate money, we accept as well. We accept as well. So this is about the donation. About the eating, the 3 meals or the 2 meals, it's the same thing, depends on the situation. So when we look into the monastic, you can judge by yourself is that which one is the real monk and which one is the fake monk. Real and fake. And monastic doesn't mean that when this person is a monastic, this person is supposed to be very dirty, very skinny. No. No. If you look into the Buddha, when he was practicing the ascetic, he was very skinny. But after that, he looks amazing. People get attracted by his appearance and learn the Dharma from him. How can this person be so peace? They're looking so peace. So when we learn about the history of Indian Buddhism, we have to understand about the Sikhism of the Sangha order. Because without the understanding of Sikhism of the Sangha order, you won't know why there are this Theravada or Theravada and Mahasanghika, which later called the Mahayana. And some folks might ask me is that, then where is the Tibetan Buddhism, also called the Vajrayana? Vajrayana was very, very, very late. We will talk about this in, I think it's in class 6 or 7. We'll talk about this during that time. So in here, sectarianism Buddhism. During the Buddha's time, is so-called the fundamental Buddhism. After the Buddha's time, within about 100 years, the so-called the original Buddhism. Original means that it's more or less still similar to the Buddha's time, but actually it's already start to change. The teaching did not really so obviously have the disagreement, but it's the precepts that cause the splitting. So when after the second council, immediately start to have this sectarianism of Buddhism, start to split out into these 2 groups, called the Theravada and Mahasanghika. So in this period of time, there's no such thing as Mahayana or Theravada. No such thing. So we have looked into the second council. We also have discussed about the Sikhism of the Buddhism due to the Vinaya. Due to the Vinaya. And actually, this shows us that when we propagate Dharma in different places, this is so-called localization of Buddhism. A lot of things needs to adjust, but what are the things that we can change and what are the things that we can't change for monastic? Sometimes I discuss with our English-speaking member. I told them is that this is not something I can do because I'm a monastic. It's against my precepts. Such as if one of the male devotees says that, oh, Venerable, I would like to take you to see a football. That's no, 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 no. First, he's a male devotee. Second, why do a monastic want to go to see a football? Why? Can you imagine in that place, there's a person wearing this robe and sitting there screaming? Can you imagine that? So this is something that's not supposed to appear. It's not supposed. So if you see a monastic in the football field, okay, then something is wrong. Something is wrong. Unless there is a service that that invite a monastic to represent Buddhism, to give a blessing or a few words, then that's a different story. That's a different story. Because the monastic is to introduce to everyone is that there's a religion called Buddhism, and I am a Buddhist monastic. I'm a Buddhist bhikkhu or bhikkhuni. So we have this brief discussion, and next week we will continue to discuss about the localization or the changes of Indian Buddhism after the Buddhas passed away. Thank you very much, and I will see you next week.